I want to bring you the very latest in an ongoing CBC News investigation into an offshore scheme that has allegedly helped wealthy Canadians avoid paying their taxes. You may remember the Canada Revenue Agency is pursuing the accounting firm KPMG in court. Well, this morning, we can tell you that CBC News has revealed a senior tax official switched to KPMG around the same time as that court action. Harvey Cashore back with us again this morning. He's a leading member of the news team that's been investigating this story, and he's here with the latest. Good morning.
Morning.
Looking forward to the latest installment. This involves a man named Jeff Sadrian. Tell us about him.
Well, last summer, very quietly, he retired from the Canada Revenue Agency, where he was a senior compliance official, high up at the CRA. We now know that in October, he joined KPMG. Now, this was at the very same time as the federal government resurrected its court action against KPMG to get the names of all those wealthy KPMG clients in that Isle of Man tax dodge.
So what does that speak to as a larger issue? Is it potential conflict of interest, one would think?
Well, you know, we're trying to find out that answer to that one question, the answer, which is why did the CRA make this a secret deal with the KPMG clients in the first place? Now, we're getting closer and closer to the answer. The CRA won't tell us why it did it, but what we're hearing from our sources inside government is take a look at the industry itself and asking the question, is the CRA too close to the accounting industry that it's supposed to regulate and enforce? And later today, we have more stories about just the sheer volume, dozens and dozens of senior CRA and Department of Justice tax officials who leave government and go work for the very industry they were trying to police in the first place.
So he's emblematic of that, this
Exactly.
Jeff Sadrian.
Right.
You would think they would be arm's length and regulating and keeping watch, but indeed there are many, many intersections.
Exactly. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, just bring everybody up to date. We're talking about how the investigation, KPMG offering wealthy clients tax shelters on the Isle of Man. This is what this all goes to. And then the CRA wanting the names of the clients, and then this secret deal that would absolve them of all penalties, correct? That's where we last left off with you.
Exactly. There was a mysterious court case that had stalled for some reason, and it was only because we were leaked the documents. CBC News was leaked the document showing there was a sweetheart deal. Canadians would never have known that the CRA had done this deal. Now, what happened was, after that, there were 6 or so clients who didn't take the deal, who didn't take it. And it's those people that the CRA is now pursuing in this court action.
In court. Where does the court case stand?
Well, we are wondering, okay, so imagine this. In 2013, how long ago was that? 4 years ago.
Right.
A judge ordered KPMG to hand over those names. And KPMG, as was its right, appealed and said, no, we're not going to do it. Years later, nothing had happened. And so last September, the government finally said, we're going to resurrect that long dormant case. And we now know from federal court documents that case won't be heard until, get it, January 2017. So we're talking months and months away. And that's just the beginning of the process.
Because that's the civil part, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's just to get the names. That's the beginning of the process.
So we're talking years and years before this could make its way through other courts.
It could be a decade before that money is recovered from the Treasury.
So the key question of who authorized this secret deal, we're no closer to that answer?
No, I think that, the Finance Committee chair has said he's going to call some CRA officials. I think that, investigative journalists can't force people to talk. But we know who these people are who made the decision. We know where they worked. And the question is, how high up did that decision go, and who exactly made that decision? One of my sources inside government emailed me last night, and he saw our articles, and he said, keep pressuring the government for answers and find out the people behind this decision. And he says, Canadian public has a right to know. And this is a former insider inside the Department of Justice.
Well, Canadians, people around the world, in fact, are demanding answers about this very issue because of what happened 1 week ago today, the release of the Panama Papers that really showed the world where the ultra-rich are putting their money, hiding it away, depriving countries of tax revenues. This is a different case. Let's be clear about that. But do you think the awareness, the profile of the Panama Papers, may it bring some influence to bear, some pressure to bear on this particular case to get some action?
Exactly. When you think about it, it's really all the same thing. The wealthy are hiding their money offshore, and there have been some very infamous leaks where that information gets exposed. And the KPMG thing is the same thing. There were secret shell companies set up in the Isle of Man that you and I were supposed to never find out about.
Right.
What we're learning today, of course, is the Minister of Revenue is having a press conference to announce new tough action, she says, against these offshore wealthy tax cheats. And according to media reports, one of the very first jurisdictions they're going to look at is the Isle of Man.
Perhaps as a direct result of the kind of investigation you've been doing.
And this is exactly where the KPMG went to hide the assets of its offshore clients.
So perhaps by day's end, there'll be some new developments, and we'll have more to talk about next time we visit. Harvey, thanks very much. Harvey Cashore, who continues to investigate into this whole area, and thanks again for the latest developments.